I hadn't been back in years, not since I left with nothing but a garbage bag and a thief's reputation clinging to my name. But when my mom texted, "Of course, honey, just bring a blanket," I thought maybe this time would be different. It wasn't. The house looked exactly the same. Beige walls, fading photos, that weird lemon pine smell that clung to everything like guilt. Mom opened the door with an overly bright smile. "You made it!" she exclaimed, like I'd just popped by to drop off cookies. She didn't ask how I'd been, didn't offer to take my bag. She just turned and walked. I followed her past the stairs, upstairs where Lily lived like royalty. I could hear her laugh echoing down, hers and her husband's. They got the entire second floor, all of it. Me? Mom led me toward the back of the house, past the laundry room, past the drafty side door. She stopped at a room I hadn't seen in years. She opened it like she was unveiling a luxury suite. "Here we are." It was the mudroom. There was a rolled-up sleeping bag on the floor, one sad pillow. The family dog, Cooper, was already laying claim to the rug. "You'll be in here," she said brightly. "Cooper doesn't bite." I blinked. "You're serious?" "You've got your own space," she said like a hostage negotiator. Then Dad popped his head in, holding a coffee mug. $60 a night. That's with the family discount. I stared at him. "You're charging me to sleep on the floor?" "It's just for a few nights," he shrugged. "We all pitch in around here." Sure. Except for Lily, who hadn't pitched in since 2009. From upstairs came footsteps. Then Lily appeared at the top of the stairs, full glam in her faux casual workout set. She took one look at me standing in the dog room and let out a bark of laughter. "Oh my God," she grinned. "You're putting her with the dog?" "She's got loads of room," Mom said. "Cooper loves company," Dad added. Lily leaned over the banister, practically glowing. "This is gold. Remember how you used to pretend to be a vet? Full circle." I didn't laugh. I just reached into my pocket and said, "Lily, can you check your phone?" She blinked. "What?" "I sent you something just now." She rolled her eyes like she was expecting a snarky meme. She tapped once, then twice, and then she stopped moving. The shift was instant, her face drained of color. She went from smug to silent in 2 seconds. "What is this?" she asked, her voice flat. Mom frowned. "Sweetheart?" Lily didn't answer. She backed away a little, staring at the screen like it had teeth. "You're a freak," she whispered at me. "You're seriously sick." Dad stepped in. "What did she send you?" Lily clutched her phone like it might explode. Her hands were shaking. Mom reached for it. "Let me see." "No!" Lily snapped, yanking it back. Her husband had appeared behind her now, frowning. "What's going on?" I stayed quiet. Mom's tone sharpened. "Lily, what is it?" Lily pointed at me like that would explain everything. "She edited it. Fake. She made it look real." Dad stepped forward. "Made what look real?" "You don't get to do this," Lily hissed. "You're insane." So I said nothing, because I didn't need to explain. Not yet. The room had gone still. Even Cooper stopped chewing his toy. "Lily," I said finally, my voice steady, "do you want to tell them? Or should I?" She looked around, at her husband, our parents, me, everyone staring, waiting. She didn't answer. Not yet. And I didn't press, because I was standing in a dog room next to a mop bucket with a $60 nightly rate, and she was about to lose everything. But that was just the beginning. When people say a single moment can change your whole life, I used to think they were being dramatic. Now I know better. Mine came when I was 17, 2 weeks after I'd come back from a school trip I'd spent 2 years saving for. I worked part-time after school, skipped lunches, said no to every movie night just so I could go hiking in Colorado with 5 other nerds and 2 underpaid science teachers. It was the first thing I'd ever done entirely for myself, and it cost me everything. The day I got back from Colorado, the watch was gone. Some heirloom thing. gold, shy, probably not even that valuable, but it had belonged to our great-grandfather or something equally significant. Dad called it the one thing that connects us to our heritage, which, for the record, was nonsense. Our heritage was middle-class suburbia and whatever was on sale at Home Depot. But it was missing, and 3 guesses who they blamed. Mom came into my room holding the empty jewelry box like it was a murder weapon. "Where is it?" I blinked. "Where's what?" "Don't play dumb," she said. "You were the only one not here. I was in Colorado." "Exactly." Dad was behind her, arms crossed like a backup bouncer. Lily stood in the hallway, chewing gum and watching like it was Netflix. "She took it," Lily said flatly. "I didn't." I looked at her. "What?" "I saw you take it before your trip. I just didn't say anything." I stared at her. "You're lying." "Don't call your sister a liar," Mom snapped. "I'm not lying," Lily said, suddenly emotional. I saw her put it in her bag. I thought maybe she was just borrowing it, but now it's gone. I laughed. Actually laughed. It was the only thing that came out. "You think I stole it? I paid for that trip with my own money. I worked for 2 years. Then why won't you tell us who you sold it to?" Dad barked. "Because I didn't sell it." "Where's the money then?" Mom demanded. "I spent it on buses and tents and powdered soup. Did you think it was a 5-star resort?" But it didn't matter. Lily had pointed her finger, and they had already decided. 2 days later, I came home to find my backpack dumped out and my drawers ransacked. Mom said they were looking for clues. Dad said I was lucky they didn't involve the police. Then they did. They actually filed a police report. I sat in a station for 3 hours while a man with a notepad asked me how long I'd been struggling with temptation. Eventually, the charges were dropped. No proof, no pawn shop receipts, no CCTV footage of me peddling heirlooms to shady dealers. But I was still guilty, at least in their eyes. The worst part wasn't just my parents. Words spread like wildfire. Family friends stopped inviting me over. My cousins stopped texting. One of my aunts actually blocked me on Facebook. I got uninvited from a family wedding after I'd bought the dress. And through it all, Lily just watched. She didn't gloat. She didn't apologize. She just moved into my role like it had always been hers. I moved out the day I turned 18. Mom handed me an envelope with $20 and a note that said, "We hope you find your way." No hug, no goodbye, just silence, and the sound of Lily laughing in the next room. I found a tiny room in a shared apartment and got a job in retail. I ate cereal for dinner. I cried into my coat sleeve in break rooms. I had panic attacks in public bathrooms because I didn't know how to fix my life. And still, for years, I believed it had all been a mistake, that if I could just clear my name, if I could prove I hadn't taken the watch, they'd apologize, take me back, see me. And then last winter, I saw the listing. It was almost a joke at first. I was scrolling through an online secondhand marketplace, looking for cheap furniture, and there was the watch, the exact one. Same scratch on the face, same worn spot on the leather band. I'd stared at that thing enough growing up to know it like the back of my hand. The seller used a fake name. The pictures were cropped. The listing said "Family Piece, open to offers." My hands shook as I took a screenshot. Then I called a friend. 2 weeks later, I was sitting outside a cafe on the edge of town, wearing a brunette wig and pretending to read a menu. Inside, at the counter, my friend Natalie was the buyer. She wore a wire. Another friend, Owen, sat nearby, pretending to work on his laptop, camera in his sleeve, backup battery pack in his hoodie. I didn't want revenge. I wanted proof. And I got it. Lily showed up in sunglasses and a hoodie, like she was auditioning for a bad spy movie. She slid into the seat and pulled out a small box. The watch was inside. Natalie asked where it came from. Lily said it was a gift from an ex, then asked for cash. Every second was recorded. The date, the time, the audio. I watched from the car, hands clenched so tight I left nail marks on my palms. After she left, we had everything. I made backup copies, I called the police, and then I waited for the right moment. So when my parents said I could stay for a few days, I said yes. I packed a bag. I walked into that house for the first time in years, and they showed me the floor with the dog. $60 a night. My sister laughed, and I handed her the truth. My sister's hand was still frozen mid-air, clutching her phone like it had turned to ice, her face not so smug anymore. "Lily," Mom said again, a little sharper this time. "What is it?" Lily didn't answer. Her husband was now standing beside her, trying to peek over her shoulder. She turned away fast, blocking the screen like a teenager hiding texts from a teacher. Dad's voice was firm. "What's going on?" She still didn't say a word. So I did. "She knows," I said slowly. "They all will, very soon." Mom looked at me like I'd just threatened to blow up the house. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. I just stood there in my $60 a night corner, next to the dog bowls and mop bucket, waiting. Lily was starting to panic now, eyes darting around, mouth opening then closing again. Then she made a mistake. She tried to lie. "She faked it," she said, lifting her head. "It's fake. She made a video. It's all edited, deep fake or AI or something." Her husband frowned. "What video?" "She's trying to ruin me," Lily snapped, turning to him. "She's obsessed." That was rich. "Lily," I said calmly, "should I explain it, or would you like to do it yourself?" Mom turned to me, fully alarmed now. "Avery, what is this about? What video?" "She knows exactly what it's about." "Enough!" Dad barked. "Someone tell me what's going on, now!" Lily was still gripping the phone like it might save her, but she was out of rope, and the silence told everyone what her words wouldn't. Her husband stepped forward. "Lily," he said quietly. "What did she send you?" She shook her head. "It's nothing." He looked at her, and something must have clicked because he held out his hand. She didn't move. "Let me see it," he said again. When she didn't, he pulled the phone out of her grip, not roughly, just decisively, like a man who suddenly realized he'd been living with a stranger. He looked at the screen, watched, and then he went very still. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "Lily?" Mom's voice cracked. "What's on the phone?" Finding the watch was pure accident. I wasn't looking for it. I'd spent years trying to forget it existed. But there it was, staring back at me from my phone screen at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I almost scrolled past it. The listing was vague. Vintage gold watch, family heirloom quality. The photos were carefully cropped, but I'd know that scratch pattern anywhere. The tiny nick on the left side of the face. The worn spot on the band where my grandfather's wrist had rubbed against it for decades. I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. My hands shook as I took screenshots. The seller's username was Vintage Treasures 22, generic enough to be anyone. But I knew. I called Natalie first thing in the morning. "I need a favor," I said. "A weird one." Natalie had been my friend since I'd moved out. She'd seen me at my lowest, crying on her bathroom floor at 3 a.m., hyperventilating in the cereal aisle because I couldn't afford both milk and bread. She didn't hesitate. "Whatever you need." I showed her the listing, explained what it meant, what it had cost me. "You think your sister is selling it?" she asked, eyes wide. "I know it's her," I said. "I just need proof." Owen joined us that afternoon. He worked in IT and had equipment. Cameras, microphones, things that could record without being noticed. We spent 3 days planning it all out. Natalie would pose as the buyer. Owen would be backup, recording everything. I would stay out of sight. Lily would recognize me instantly, even after all these years. "You know this is basically entrapment, right?" Owen said, untangling wires at my kitchen table. "It's not entrapment if she's already selling stolen property," I replied. "Fair point." We set up the meeting at a cafe downtown, public enough to be safe, quiet enough to get clear audio. I wore a dark wig and sunglasses, sitting in my car across the street with a perfect view. Natalie went in first, ordered a latte, sat down at a corner table. Owen followed 10 minutes later, setting up his laptop at a table nearby, camera hidden in his sleeve. When Lily walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. Her hair was shorter, highlighted. She wore expensive athleisure and carried a designer bag that probably cost more than my monthly rent. But her walk was the same, that confident stride, like the world owed her something. She sat down across from Natalie. I watched through my car window, heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. They talked. Lily smiled. She pulled out a small box and opened it. Even from a distance, I could see the glint of gold. Natalie asked questions we'd rehearsed. Where did you get it? How long have you had it? Any paperwork? Lily's answers came through the earpiece Owen had given me. It's been in my family, she said. My grandfather gave it to me before he died. Lie. I've had it for years, but I don't wear it. Lie. I don't have the papers anymore. Lie. Then Natalie asked the question we'd been waiting for. Has it ever been reported stolen? Lily's smile flickered, just for a second. No, of course not. It's mine to sell. Natalie handed over the cash, $500 we'd scraped together. Lily counted it, nodded, and left. The whole thing took less than 15 minutes. I sat frozen in my car, watching my sister walk away with cash in her purse, the weight of 7 years of exile suddenly concrete in my hands. We met back at my apartment. Owen downloaded the footage, enhanced the audio. There it was, crystal clear. My sister selling the watch that had destroyed my life. The watch she had accused me of stealing. What now? Natalie asked. I stared at the screen, at Lily's face frozen mid-lie. Now I make copies. I sent one to the police with a detailed statement. I kept one on my phone, one on a flash drive, one in cloud storage. I wasn't taking chances. The police called me in 2 days later. They remembered the case, not because it was special, but because it was so ordinary. A teenager accused of theft, a family torn apart. They'd seen it before. We can pursue charges, the officer said. But it's been years. The statute of limitations is tricky here. I shook my head. I don't want her arrested. I just want my name cleared. They took my statement, filed a report, said they'd follow up. But I knew the system well enough by now to know that justice wasn't coming from them. If I wanted the truth to matter, I'd have to deliver it myself. So when my mother texted me 3 weeks later, "Your father's birthday is coming up. Would be nice to see you." I saw my chance. I packed light, 1 change of clothes, my toothbrush, and 3 copies of the video that would change everything. Lily's husband, Mark, stared at the phone, his face draining of color. He looked up at her, then back at the screen like he was hoping the image would change if he blinked hard enough. "What is this?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Lily didn't answer. She was looking at me now, her eyes narrowed to slits. "You've been stalking me," she hissed. I shook my head. "No, I found the watch by accident. You listed it publicly." Mom stepped forward, her patience evaporating. "Will someone please tell me what's going on?" Mark handed her the phone wordlessly. Dad moved closer, peering over her shoulder. I watched their faces as they watched the video. Confusion, then shock, then something darker. The audio was crystal clear. "So this was your grandfather's watch?" Natalie's voice. "Yes," Lily's reply. "He left it to me before he died." "And you're sure it's authentic? It looks valuable." "It is. It's been in my family for generations." "Has it ever been reported stolen?" That slight pause. "No, of course not. It's mine to sell." Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's face hardened into something I'd never seen before. Not anger, but devastation. The kind that ages you 10 years in 10 seconds. "Lily," he said, his voice hollow. "Is that you?" Lily's strategy shifted instantly. Her shoulders slumped, her eyes welled up, the tears coming on command like they always had. "It's not what it looks like," she said. "It looks like you selling the watch," Mark said flatly. The one your sister was accused of stealing? You don't understand, Lily pleaded. I was desperate. We needed money for the down payment on the house. Mark's head snapped up. What? Your parents helped us, she backpedaled quickly. But we were still short. We were short $1,200, he said slowly. You told me you got a bonus at work. I did. This was extra. So you stole a family heirloom, let your sister take the blame for years, then sold it anyway? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I didn't steal it, Lily protested. Dad gave it to me. Dad's face went from devastated to thunderous. I most certainly did not. You did. You said I could have it someday. Someday, not at 17 to pawn off. I didn't pawn it, she insisted. I kept it safe for years. Until you needed a house down payment, I said quietly. The room fell silent. Cooper whined softly from his corner, sensing the tension. Mark was the first to speak. How much did you sell it for? Lily hesitated. $500. $500, Dad repeated, his voice hollow. That's what your grandfather's watch was worth to you. That's what it was worth on the market, she corrected, a flash of defiance returning. It wasn't even real gold. Mom's face crumpled. It wasn't about the gold, Lily. It was about family. Family? I couldn't help myself. Is that what you call what you did to me? All eyes turned to me. I hadn't meant to speak, but 7 years of silence was suddenly too much to bear. You let me take the blame, I continued, my voice steadier than I felt. You watched them kick me out. You knew I was innocent. I didn't know they'd react like that, Lily said, her voice small. Bullshit, I snapped. You knew exactly what would happen. I was 17! So was I! My voice broke. I was 17 and I lost everything. My home, my family, my reputation. People in this town still think I'm a thief. Mom was crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. Dad stood motionless, like he'd turned to stone. Why? He asked finally, looking at Lily. Why would you do this to your sister? Lily's tears had dried up remarkably fast. She crossed her arms, defensive. She was leaving anyway. She had that stupid trip, that scholarship. She was going to get out. I was stuck here. So you punished her for it? Mark asked, incredulous. I didn't think it would be such a big deal, Lily exploded. It was just a watch. I didn't think they'd throw her out. You didn't just take the watch, I said quietly. You told them you saw me take it. You lied. The silence that followed was deafening. Is that true? Mom whispered. Lily didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence was confirmation enough. I trusted you, Mark said, his voice flat. We're having a baby, Lily. Were you ever going to tell me who you really are? The room froze. Mom's eyes widened. You're pregnant? Lily nodded, a hint of triumph returning to her face. 12 weeks. That doesn't change what you did, I said. No, Dad agreed, surprising me. It doesn't. Mark stepped away from Lily, running a hand through his hair. I need some air. Mark, Lily reached for him, but he was already heading for the door. Don't, he said, not looking back. The front door opened and closed with a quiet click. Lily rounded on me, fury replacing her tears. Are you happy now? You've ruined everything. I ruined nothing, I replied calmly. You did this. All of it. You could have let it go. It was years ago. Let it go? I stared at her in disbelief. You destroyed my life and you want me to let it go? It wasn't that bad, she scoffed. I lived in my car for 3 months, I said quietly. I couldn't get an apartment because I had no references, no credit history. I worked 2 jobs and still couldn't make ends meet. I had panic attacks so bad I thought I was dying. All because you wanted what? To punish me for leaving? Mom made a small, wounded sound. Dad put a hand on her shoulder. "We didn't know," he said. "You didn't ask," I replied. "You just believed her." The weight of that truth settled over the room like dust. "What do you want?" Lily demanded. "Money? An apology? What will make you go away?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. My sister. My blood. The person who had watched me suffer and done nothing. "I want my name cleared," I said simply. "I want everyone who thinks I'm a thief to know the truth. I want Mom and Dad to know who they chose." "We didn't choose," Mom began. "Yes, you did," I cut her off. "You chose her. You always have." Dad's face had aged a decade in minutes. "Avery, we made a terrible mistake." "Yes," I agreed. "You did." "What happens now?" Mom asked, her voice small. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. "This is a copy of the police report I filed 3 weeks ago. They've reopened the case. Lily won't go to jail. It's been too long, and the value isn't high enough. But there will be a record." Lily's face went white. "You went to the police?" "Yes." "You can't do that. I'm pregnant." "Being pregnant doesn't make you above the law," I said. "What about Mark? What about our baby?" "You should have thought about that before you sold the watch." Lily's face contorted with rage. "You've always been jealous of me. Always. This is just your pathetic revenge." "This isn't revenge," I said quietly. "This is justice." "Justice?" She laughed bitterly. "You're destroying my marriage over a stupid watch." "No, I'm telling the truth about who you are. If that destroys your marriage, that's on you." Mom stepped between us, hands outstretched like she was separating toddlers. "Please, both of you, we need to calm down." "I am calm," I said. And I was, calmer than I'd been in years. The weight I'd been carrying, the shame, the anger, the hurt, it was lifting, piece by piece, with every word spoken. Dad cleared his throat. "Avery, what you've been through, we can never make that right. But we want to try." I looked at him. This man who had once been my hero, who had taught me to ride a bike and check the oil in my car, who had believed the worst of me without a second thought. "I don't know if that's possible," I said honestly. "Please," Mom whispered. "We lost you once. Don't make us lose you again." "You didn't lose me," I corrected gently. "You threw me away." The truth of it hung in the air between us, undeniable. Lily scoffed. "So dramatic. Always the victim." "Lily, enough," Dad snapped, with a sharpness I'd never heard him use with her before. "You've done enough damage." She blinked, startled by his tone. "Dad!" "No. You lied to us. You let us believe your sister was a thief. You watched us cut her off, and you said nothing. For years." Lily's face crumpled, but this time the tears seemed real. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't apologize to them," I said. "Apologize to me." She looked at me, really looked at me, perhaps for the first time in years. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice small. I nodded, not accepting, not rejecting, just acknowledging. "What happens now?" Mom asked again. I looked around the room, at my sister, broken but not repentant, at my parents, devastated by their own complicity, at Cooper, still watching from his corner, oblivious to the human drama unfolding. "Now," I said, picking up my bag, "I find somewhere else to sleep tonight." "No," Dad said quickly. "Please stay." I shook my head. "I can't sleep on a dog bed for $60 a night. Not anymore." "You can have our room," Mom offered desperately. "Please, Avery." I paused at the door. "I'll think about it." And I walked out, not sure if I was leaving for the night or forever, but certain, for the first time in 7 years, that whatever happened next would be my choice.